Welcome to our deep dive into Vedanta. We've got some really, really cool stuff to explore today. It's like we're stepping into a time machine with ancient and modern texts. You
Hmm.
know, a little bit of everything.
It really is quite a journey we're about to take. And we'll try to break down some of the key ideas from all these centuries of wisdom.
That sounds awesome. So what exactly are we diving into today?
Well, Vedanta is all about trying to understand existence, and the self. It's almost like a philosophical treasure hunt, searching for the ultimate truth.
Ooh, a treasure hunt. I like that. One of our sources actually defines Vedanta as the end of the Vedas. This is from Swami Vivekananda's lecture from 1896. What does that even mean, though, the end of the Vedas?
So the Vedas are like the very foundation of Hindu thought. They were passed down orally for centuries as Shruti, which means that which is heard. So think of Vedanta as like the peak of these teachings.
So it's not just like some random philosophy popping up out of nowhere. It comes from a very long tradition.
Exactly. And the Upanishads, which are a collection of these deep, philosophical dialogues that are part of the Vedas, well, they form the very bedrock of Vedanta. They explore the nature of reality and the self. It's like ancient wisdom whispering to us through time.
That's super cool. Okay, so now things are getting interesting. Here's where it gets complex. Our source material, Stevia Vivek, the Vedanta Philosophy, Harvard ENA5.pdf, mentions different schools of thought within Vedanta Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, and Advaita. What is that all about? It sounds a little intimidating.
I know it can seem that way at first, but think of these different schools as like different lenses, They each offer a unique perspective on how the individual self and the divine relate to each other.
Okay, so how can we understand these schools without getting lost in the technical stuff?
Well, picture a spectrum. At one end, we have Dvaita, which emphasizes duality. It sees a distinct separation between you and the divine.
So like two totally separate entities existing independently.
Yes, exactly. Now, if we move along this spectrum, we come to Vishishtadvaita, which proposes a qualified non-duality. Imagine a connection where individuals retain their identity, but are still part of a larger whole.
Interesting. So there's like a sense of unity, but with distinct individualities.
That's it. And then finally, we arrive at Advaita, which proclaims complete non-duality. This is where the self and the divine are ultimately seen as one and the same.
Whoa, that's a mind-blowing concept.
Mm.
So if everything is one, then what about this world that we see, all this diversity, all these seemingly separate beings?
That's where Brahman comes in. The wisdom of Vedanta.pdf beautifully states that Brahman is everything. It is this universe and every creature.
So Brahman is like the ultimate reality, the source of everything.
Yes, Brahman is that unifying principle connecting everything, like an invisible thread woven through the tapestry of existence.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
But then why do we feel like separate individuals? Why all this limitation and isolation if we're all connected to this vast Brahman?
This is where the concept of Maya comes in. It's often misunderstood. Maya isn't some evil force trying to trick us. It's more like a force that creates the illusion of separation, a veil over our true nature.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
Mhm.
So Brahman is the ultimate reality, and Maya is like a cosmic magic trick that makes us forget our true connection.
You got it. Vedanta suggests that by understanding and going beyond this Maya, we can realize our true connection with Brahman.
So how do we even begin to lift this veil of Maya? Is there a step-by-step guide or something?
Well, Vedanta offers various paths or approaches to help us in this journey of self-discovery. They're like different tools, each suited to different personalities and preferences. Some focus on action, others on devotion, and still others on knowledge and looking inward.
It seems like Vedanta is more than just a set of beliefs. It's a dynamic system for exploring our place in the universe and our connection to the divine.
You're absolutely right. And as we go deeper into Vedanta, you'll see how these ancient teachings can help us understand and navigate the complexities of life.
Okay, so we've got Brahman, this ultimate reality, and Maya, the illusion of separation. But how do we actually experience this connection to Brahman? Do we have to, like, become hermits and live in caves or something?
That's actually a common misconception. Vedanta doesn't say you have to withdraw from the world. It's more about shifting your perspective, understanding that you can be in the world, but not of it.
So it's not about physically renouncing everything, but having a sense of inner detachment.
Exactly. You can still enjoy life,
Yeah.
pursue your passions, have relationships, but with the understanding that these are all part of the grand illusion of Maya.
Okay, that makes sense. Our sources like Swami Vivekananda's lecture and the Bhagavad Gita mention these different paths, like karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga. Are those necessary for breaking through this illusion?
Think of these paths as different approaches to self-realization, like different tools in a toolbox. you know? They're not meant to restrict you, but to give you a framework for spiritual growth. Let's break down each one.
Sounds good. Let's start with karma yoga. It's often called the path of action, but what does that actually mean in practice?
Karma yoga isn't just about doing more things. It's about acting without being attached to the outcomes. It encourages us to perform our duties and engage in the world, but without being driven by ego or attachment to the results.
So it's like doing what needs to be done, but without all the drama and stress.
Exactly. It's about aligning our actions with our dharma, our inherent purpose, and performing them with a sense of inner peace and surrender.
That sounds like a real challenge in today's world, where everyone's always striving for success and validation. How do we even find our dharma? Is there some kind of cosmic career guide we can consult?
Finding your dharma is a continuous journey of self-discovery. It involves paying attention to your inherent talents, your passions, and how you can use those to make a positive impact on the world.
So it's about aligning our actions with our inner compass and contributing to something bigger than ourselves. What about bhakti yoga? That's the path of devotion, right?
Yes, bhakti yoga is all about cultivating love and surrender to the divine. It's about opening your heart and recognizing the divine spark within yourself and within all beings.
So it's not just about rituals and going to temples. Can we practice bhakti yoga in our daily lives?
Of course. It can manifest in so many ways through prayer meditation, acts of kindness, or even just cultivating gratitude and reverence for life.
That's beautiful. It's like infusing our actions with love and devotion. What about jnana yoga? That one sounds very intellectual.
Jnana yoga emphasizes knowledge and self-inquiry. It's about using our intellect to question our assumptions, analyze our experiences, and ultimately realize the true nature of the self.
It sounds like a philosophical quest for truth and understanding. Does that mean we have to become scholars and spend all our time reading ancient texts?
Not necessarily. While studying scriptures can be helpful, jnana yoga is more about developing a discerning mind and using it to investigate the nature of reality.
So it's about becoming more aware of our thoughts and perceptions and using our intellect as a tool for self-discovery. Okay, with all these different paths and practices, are there any common misconceptions about Vedanta that you've come across?
One common misconception is that Vedanta promotes passivity or inaction. You know, some people think if everything is ultimately Brahman, then our actions don't matter.
Like, why bother doing anything if it's all predetermined or an illusion anyway?
Yeah, exactly. But that misunderstands the importance of free will and the role of action in our spiritual growth. Vedanta actually says that our actions do have consequences, and we have the power to choose how we act in the world.
So it's not about fatalism or giving up responsibility.
Not at all. Vedanta teaches that our actions shape our karma, which then influences our future experiences. But the goal is to act not out of ego or attachment, but from a place of understanding and alignment with our dharma.
Okay, so it's about acting consciously and responsibly. Understanding that our choices have an impact on both ourselves and the world around us. Does this idea of karma and action tie into the concept of reincarnation, which is discussed in the Wisdom of Vedanta.pdf?
Absolutely. The idea of reincarnation is closely connected to the concept of karma. Vedanta suggests that we keep coming back lifetime after lifetime until we learn the lessons we need to break free from this cycle of birth and death.
It's like a cosmic school where we keep repeating the grade until we master the material.
I like that analogy. Each lifetime gives us chances to learn, grow, and evolve spiritually. And through our actions and choices, we create karma, which then shapes our future experiences.
That's a fascinating concept, but it also makes you wonder about death and what happens afterward. Does Vedanta offer any insights into the afterlife?
Well, this is where different schools of thought within Vedanta have different perspectives. Some emphasize the idea of merging with Brahman upon death, achieving liberation where individual identity dissolves into the ultimate reality.
Like a drop of water returning to the ocean.
Yes, exactly. Others suggest that even in liberation, a sense of individuality remains. But it's no longer bound by ego or attachment. It's a state of pure awareness of being fully present without clinging to any specific form or identity.
That sounds incredible. But how can we know which interpretation is right? It's not like we can interview someone who's died and come back.
True, and ultimately, the nature of the afterlife remains a mystery. But Vedanta encourages us to approach these questions not just with blind faith, but through direct experience and inner exploration.
So it's about cultivating awareness and understanding through our own spiritual practice.
Exactly. Practices like meditation, self-inquiry, and contemplation can help us glimpse beyond that veil of Maya and experience the interconnectedness of everything.
This has been an amazing exploration. We've covered so much, from Brahman and Maya to the different paths of self-realization and even reincarnation and the afterlife.
And we've only scratched the surface. Vedanta is a vast ocean of wisdom waiting to be explored.
Before we wrap up, can we touch upon another misconception you mentioned earlier? The one about renouncing the world?
Of course, that misconception comes from a limited understanding of Vedanta. While renunciation is a valid path for some, it's not necessary for everyone.
So we don't all have to shave our heads and live in caves to be true Vedantins?
Not at all. True renunciation in Vedanta is an internal state of detachment, not a physical act.
So it's about letting go of our attachments to material things, ego outcomes, not abandoning our responsibilities in the world.
Exactly. It's about engaging with the world, but with clarity, wisdom, and detachment.
That makes a lot more sense. It's like
Yeah.
we can still enjoy life and follow our passions, but without being consumed by them or defining our worth by them.
Yes. And by understanding Maya and the illusory nature of the world, we can find true fulfillment and liberation, not through external things, but through realizing our true self.
This is really resonating with me. It seems like Vedanta offers a way to live a more balanced and fulfilling life, where we can still appreciate the world, but stay connected to our inner truth.
I love that. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore some practical ways to integrate these teachings into your daily life.
I'm really excited to hear more about that. This conversation has made me so curious about Vedanta and its potential for personal transformation. We've covered some really, really deep stuff. Brahman, Maya, reincarnation, the different paths of yoga. It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
But how does all this actually apply to our lives? Like in the real world, does Vedanta have something practical to offer us in the middle of all the craziness of modern life?
Absolutely. Vedanta isn't just a philosophy to think about. It's a way of life. It gives us practical wisdom for dealing with life's ups and downs, finding inner peace, and building meaningful relationships.
That sounds amazing, especially nowadays with all the stress and anxiety. So how do we actually bring these ancient teachings into our modern lives? What can we do?
One of the most important things is self-awareness. Vedanta encourages us to really understand our thoughts, emotions, and motivations.
So it's like taking a pause from the busyness of life and looking inward.
Exactly. By becoming aware of our thought patterns and how we react emotionally, we can start to detach from them and make more conscious choices.
Instead of being controlled by our emotions, we can learn to just observe them without judgment and then choose how to respond.
Right. And this self-awareness helps us cultivate other important qualities that are emphasized in Vedanta, like equanimity, compassion, and non-attachment.
Okay, so self-awareness is like the foundation for these other virtues. Can you explain how those play out in our daily lives?
Sure. For example, equanimity is the ability to stay calm and centered. No matter what's happening around you, Vedanta teaches us that true happiness and peace come from within, not from external circumstances.
So finding that inner peace even when everything feels chaotic.
Exactly. And by cultivating equanimity, we become less reactive to things and more resilient when we face challenges.
That's something I think we all need. What about compassion? Where does that fit in?
Compassion naturally comes from understanding that we're all connected. When we realize that we're all part of the same universal consciousness, other people's suffering becomes our own.
It's not just being kind or sympathetic. It's realizing our shared humanity and really feeling empathy for others.
Yes. And this compassion isn't just for other people, it extends to all living beings. Vedanta encourages us to treat every form of life with respect and kindness.
What a beautiful principle. Now, what about non-attachment? That seems tough in a world that's always telling us to get more, achieve more, and hold on tight to things.
Non-attachment doesn't mean giving up everything you enjoy or becoming indifferent to life. It's more about changing how you see possessions, relationships, and even your own identity.
So it's about recognizing that everything changes and not clinging too tightly to things that are impermanent.
Exactly. By practicing non-attachment, you free yourself from the suffering that comes from clinging to things that will inevitably change or disappear.
Wow, that's a powerful insight. It's like learning to surf the waves of life without getting pulled under by the currents of attachment.
Great analogy. And by cultivating non-attachment, you can experience more freedom and peace, knowing that true happiness doesn't depend on external things.
This is all making a lot of sense. It seems like Vedanta gives us a framework for living a more conscious, compassionate, and fulfilling life. But what about people who are new to all of this? Where should they start?
There are many paths you can explore. Some people find it helpful to begin by studying the scriptures like the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita.
So those ancient texts can actually offer practical guidance for how to live today.
Absolutely. They have timeless wisdom and insights that are just as relevant now as they were centuries ago.
What about other ways to connect with these teachings, like meditation? Is that an important part of Vedanta?
Meditation is a central practice in Vedanta. It helps you quiet your mind, cultivate self-awareness, and connect with the stillness at your core.
So it's not just about relaxation or stress reduction. It's about reaching a deeper level of awareness.
Exactly. Through regular meditation, you can start to experience the truth of Vedanta directly, not just as concepts or beliefs.
This sounds amazing. Like meditation is a direct path to experiencing the interconnectedness and unity that Vedanta talks about.
Yes. And you don't need to be a monk or live in a cave to meditate. Even a few minutes each day can have a big impact.
That's good to know. So we've got scriptures, meditation, and self-awareness. Are there any other practices or resources you'd recommend for someone who wants to delve deeper into Vedanta?
Finding a teacher or community that resonates with you can be incredibly helpful. Having guidance and support from others on a similar path can provide inspiration and encouragement.
So it's like joining a group of fellow travelers on this journey of self-discovery.
Exactly. There are Vedanta centers and communities all over the world where you can connect with like-minded people and learn from experienced teachers.
This has been such an enriching and insightful conversation. Feels like we've just scratched the surface of Vedanta, but it's definitely made me want to learn more.
That's the beauty of Vedanta. It's a lifelong journey of exploration and discovery. The more we delve into these teachings, the more we learn about ourselves, our place in the universe, and the nature of reality.
As we wrap up our deep dive, what's the most important thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
The essence of Vedanta is realizing that you are not who you think you are. You are not limited to your body, your thoughts, or your emotions. You're part of something much greater, a spark of the divine consciousness that's in everything.
That's a powerful message. It's like we've been given a cosmic upgrade, but we haven't fully activated it yet.
That's a great way to put it. And by embracing the teachings and practices of Vedanta, you can start a journey of self-discovery that leads to more freedom, peace, and fulfillment.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights with us. This has been an amazing journey.
My pleasure. And remember, the path of self-discovery is an ongoing adventure. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the light of awareness burning bright within you.
What a beautiful way to end our deep dive into Vedanta. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep shining your light.